Modern Warrior. I know a lot of you guys want me to talk about Modern Warrior. You keep asking, Papa Gut, this guy, I hate him. I don't like this guy. You got to tell me what you think about him so that hopefully you're hoping that I'll hate him as well. And this way, you know, you guys can feel affirmed in your hatred for him. That's just kind of true. That's what you're here for. Anyway, Modern Warrior really blew up when he started being racist towards white people, calling them colonizer. And I'm going to explain to you why the word colonizer is racist. Right? First and foremost, white people aren't the only people who've colonized, and he's exclusively saying it to white people. Secondly, he's putting a little stank on the word. You know, if I go, hey, there's a black guy over there, you're like, oh, that's cool. But if I say, hey, there's a black guy over there, you're like, oh, that was rude. You know what I mean? The stank on a word actually does matter. Lastly, though, like, we have to acknowledge that, like, just because we are white and there are colonizers among us, that's sussy, doesn't mean that, like, all of us engage in colonization. Not all of us, like, actually engage in it. Assuming that everybody does a terrible thing because some group of people do that terrible thing is ridiculous. That's like saying, well, you know, I know that there are black gang members, so all black people are gang members. You understand what I'm saying? It makes it, like, additionally racist. It's that overly generalization is incredibly racist. Let's see if we can find us. All of these videos are really just him calling out people that didn't like him calling white people colonizers. That's really all it is. And it's a shame because I don't know what, like, it's all so much. I don't know if there's any actual educational resources in here. So let's see if we can go through here and let's see if any recent videos we can find any educational resources, because that's the thing. That's the thing that's going to get it, right? Is there are issues in indigenous communities that America doesn't talk about. America loves virtue signaling over black people, but America, even the wokest of the woke, don't give a singular fuck about indigenous people, which is interesting. To me, it really just identifies the fact that nobody actually cares about black people. They actually only care about the fact that it will give you social clout to pretend to care about black people. And since talking about indigenous people doesn't give you social clout, I have to sneeze. No, they don't talk about indigenous people. Excuse me for a second. Now, I'm rather new to the Native American issues. It's hard to find somebody to actually have a reasonable conversation and talk about these things. But I don't know. Now, I will say, hopefully, he actually does talk about Native issues and he doesn't just kind of like sell T-shirts calling people colonizers for money, which seems like mostly what he does. But I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. As far as if he does actually talk about Native American issues, I will say nobody gives a fuck about any real politics in a lot of the cases. And so, like, from an ideal perspective, like, obviously he shouldn't be rude or mean, but from a practical perspective, let's acknowledge that nobody gives a fuck about anything unless, like, something like this happens. I would make a reasonable argument that nobody cared about him if he does. I'm giving him a lot of, like, maybe he does, but if he does talk about Native American issues, nobody cares enough. But when he talks about hating white people, all of a sudden people tune in. So if it's getting greater reach on him actually advocating for indigenous issues, it might not be ideal. And you don't even have to like it. But at least he's working. You know? At least it's working. So let's talk about this. He's talked about Native American issues. Okay. So then, I mean, like, what do you want me to tell you? Now, I'm just going to sit here and tell you that it doesn't mean I like the guy. It looks like he kind of is just an annoying asshole. But you know what? That doesn't mean that he's an ineffective annoying asshole. And I'm sure he also thinks I'm an annoying asshole. And then we can mutually live together just thinking that we are annoying assholes with each other. Well, let's watch some of these videos with the sound on.
When are you gonna figure out that this man is equally? I could crush your fucking skull.
Oh, I don't care. That's just like other thing. He's not too bad looking. He's got like some solid striations in there.
You know, it's funny. This guy talks about racism like he's never racist. In order to call someone racist, you need to understand what racism is. But
I'm just gonna say, like, if you have a fucking mask on when you're talking about something, like, you don't have any balls. Like, you know, you have to. That's one of the things that I don't like is, like, people who will talk about something, but you got to put a face to it, because there's no accountability if you don't. You could just say whatever the fuck you want. Nobody's gonna know anything. Nobody's gonna know. You know what I mean? I already don't like that.
Hey, Colonizer.
So stupid.
So my lived experience doesn't count.
I'm going to tell you one thing about when you're called a colonizer. Like, I'm just going to tell you that, like, you should just kind of ignore it. Like, it's like just this is my thing. Like, obviously, like, if you're going to say, hey, colonizer, I'm just going to tune out. Like, instantly, if it wasn't for this video, I would have just turned this whole thing off and stopped caring personally. But of course, I got to fucking do this for you guys. It's just like, oh, okay, whatever.
Or my studies, or all the work that I do revolving around justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion.
I don't know. I just saw a guy with the mask on.
You're right. I should take advice from someone who walks around in a paintball mask all day.
That's fair.
Sounds legit. It seems like you're my biggest fan right now. That's fine.
Okay, interesting.
So I'm gonna pretend that you actually believe the bullshit that you're spewing. Here's the reality of it. The average people have no control over their governments, and the government runs each and every one of us, regardless of our race, religion, gender, etc.
That's an interesting point. Like, I just find it weird that you're like, yeah, I acknowledge that we do shitty things, but I don't have any control over it. I mean, that's your best argument. I mean, you probably should have just kept your mouth shut at that point.
To constantly be fighting with each other.
Hey, Colonizer. I'm going to pretend that you believe in the bullshit that you're spewing, because in your argument, you say that I'm pointing out issues that don't exist. And the issues that I'm actually pointing out are white supremacy, racism, discrimination, bigotry.
Hurricane Bauer just resubscribed
thank you so much for the
3
sub.
months. Can I get a poggers?
Probably not an appropriate time to say that, since we're... Okay, poggers.
And ignorance towards me and the Native community.
Maybe.
Sure, the average person does not control the government. But please, remind me who stormed the Capitol on January 6th.
Like a 0.1% of the population? I don't understand. Like, what? Annoying, dumb conservatives? That's also kind of like a racist point there. It's like, well, you know, since the people who stormed the Capitol were white, then they're, I don't know. I just don't know the point you're making. Like, these overly generalizations, like, those makes it ignorant. Makes it, like, racist. Makes me tune out. But I know it's just, like, kind of inciting, like, the emotions of people because, like, the anti-white people, which are mostly white because they're all full of fucking, like, white, like, guilt, they love it. They jerk off. They're like, yes, see, I knew those people were bad. And then, like, the fucking conservatives get all offended. And, like, just, you know, if you really, just who gives a shit?
And what was their mission? All right. It was to uphold white supremacy.
I don't think that's true. I think it was to protest what they would consider an unjust government. Why don't you guys just do that? I don't know. Get some guns. Why don't you advocate for that? Be like, hey, listen. I think that the riots were disgusting and pathetic. But hey, like, do that. Get some people together. Get a bunch of the white saviors together. If they actually cared, they would do it, but they don't. With a gun. Go to the Capitol. Illegal in a state where it's legal. Why don't you guys do that? You know, but like that's the thing is these white fucking saviors don't give a shit. I'm just gonna be honest with you. They don't give a fuck about your issues.
Now, before I can take you seriously, is this you?
Colonizers, but I myself have never called Native Americans any racial slur.
Is this you?
Oh, that is actually funny. Like, what a oh, sorry, excuse me. I get a little, sorry, what a moron. Excuse my potential bad language there. That guy's a fucking idiot, though. It's just stupid. I understand his point. Like, if you can call me a racial slur, can I call you one? But, like, you just said that you never called somebody one. It's just so stupid.
I am not white. Yeah.
I knew this dude would eventually claim this, so I really have been looking forward to saying this to this man. But, hey, colonizer, how are you doing? If you believe that you are purebred, if you believe that you don't have some colonizer in you, you're an idiot.
This is a really dumb idiot video that this guy just made. Wow. No offense. This is the stupidest video that I've seen so far. I want you to understand why this is the dumbest thing in the entire world. I just need you to understand why what he just said was super dumb and ignorant. Okay? No. Shut up. Do not even defend him because you're going to feel like a fucking moron after I tell you why it's wrong. I'm telling you that I'm getting heated for a particular reason. I want you to listen to this, okay? I want you to understand that this thing right now. This guy is Native American. He's an indigenous. He most likely stayed in like a segregated area with other indigenous people. If he's not 100% native, it's because his ancestors were raped by white people. So like the fucking this dumb argument to make of like you probably have white in you. It's if he does, it's because his family was raped by white people. So you probably shouldn't jerk yourself off over that point. You know, I wouldn't have. I personally wouldn't have said something so stupid, so fucking absolutely moronic. I just wouldn't have said it. It was just really dumb.
You are a true moron. I challenge you to take a DNA test just to check, but it's a weird flex anyway.
Hey, Colonizer. First of all, I don't owe you a damn thing. Because I know who I am. I know my language. I know my heritage. I know our traditions. I know my culture. I know my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents who were born and died here. And they were returned to the land here. Where were yours? But please.
Mine died in Germany, and they returned to the air.
Continue.
That was a half ethnic Jew. Anyway, I think we're getting a pretty good trend here.
Why don't you tell the United States to get over 9/11? Why don't you tell this country to get over all of the veterans who died in the Second World War?
Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
Instead of honoring them once a year. Why don't you tell your families to stop?
Good afternoon, beautiful people. I would like to take a moment and dispel a number of rumors about me that I've heard on TikTok. Rumor number 1. I am not white. Yeah.
I don't really care.
But you realize that you're being a racist. But again, me and everybody that was in your live last night was listening to you say, "Oh, I don't call anybody a colonizer." Were these not your fucking words just now? Shut the fuck up and do us all a favor and close your fucking TikTok and go hide.
Hey, Colonizer. Listen here, Billy Bob. And to all my wonderful haters who boost my algorithm, comment, and stitch, and duet me. Hey, Colonizer.
Well, yeah, like it's true. Like, if you guys just stopped giving a shit about him, nobody would watch his videos. All of his top videos are him calling white people colonizers. You guys are quite literally boosting his algorithm.
You see, I'm not intimidated by you or anyone. I'm not going to shut up. I'm not going to leave. And I'm not going to hide.
Okay.
No matter how many times I get threatened.
All right, enough. Let's see if there's anything else.
Dear white people.
Oh, I saw this video the other day. This woman is like, we white people got to stand up for ourselves. And I was like, listen, like, of course, like, yes, there is like a wave of anti-whiteness, especially on the internet. White people are socially policed more than anybody else. And like, yes, I guess you kind of have to stand up for yourself. The way that you stand up for yourself is just stop giving a shit about like some of this shit. That's really the way that you would stand up for yourself. But this woman was like far too radical about it. It was like really weird and it was cringy as hell. Like, I'll tell you guys, as a white person, you know, the way you stand up is like stop giving in to these emotionally provocative things. Acknowledge that like if somebody is racist, it's like this guy's racist. He's racist because of the shitty past of white people. Now, does that make it okay? No, but it makes it more understandable. So, like, don't fall for the trap. Don't be reactionarily racist to this person. You don't need to be like, well, if you can call me a colonizer and call you a savage, like, that's just a fucking, like, small brain move. Honestly, and just, like, move past it. Like, you're giving it attention it doesn't need to have. So.
You're gonna have to start raising hell.
Okay.
Hold on. Somebody in my chat said that's a bad take, Papa. So what do you think we should do? What do you think we should do? Should we start killing Native American people that don't like us? Like, what's the reasonable response? What's the reasonable response? Because the only reason it's becoming socially acceptable is because people are getting so offended by it that they're just like, I can't. And then they're not just being offended by it. It's really stupid people getting offended by it and not understanding that like their reaction, it ends up being racist as well. So it makes white people look dumb. You understand? Like, it's not like somebody's coming at this with like an educated take saying like, listen, this is what he's saying is racist, but I understand like that the racism comes from like a history of being oppressed. But like, just because white people oppressed you doesn't mean that every white person is bad and an oppressor. And I think that like that's the way. If you want to have that response, be my absolute fucking guest. But if you're gonna be like a really dumb person about it, and I'm not saying that you are. If you're just gonna be like, well, if your fucking take comes down to if you say colonizer, I call you savage. Like, if you're gonna have a stupid reactionarily racist take against it, then like you are better off just not talking ever again in your entire life, ever again in your entire fucking life.
Colonizer, what in the cousin loving tarnation is this? It sure sounds like a rebel yell to me. Then again, you already knew that. When you say raise hell, do you mean
shit your pants?
Because it sure sounds that way. You see, what's also very interesting is that you acknowledge the myth of whiteness is being dismantled without acknowledging it. Wonderful. You feel and sense the power and the illusion of whiteness being lifted. The veil of ignorance, let's call it.
All right, I don't even know what the fuck he's talking about. Here's what we're going to do, because we're going to end this segment. I'm going to have an honest conversation with you that none of these motherfuckers want to have an honest conversation about. And when I mean all these, like, people are getting offended by being called wild colonizer and this and the other thing. Here's the honest truth, right? It's this guy's responsibility as an indigenous person and as an activist to advocate for him and his people first. Here's another honest truth, is that here's the reality. The unfortunate reality is that we live in a fucking terrible world. We live in a terrible world of conquest and denial of, like, grasping of resources. That's just the truth. And as Western countries still do it. We still really do. We're probably the most active colonizers in the entire world. We insert ourselves into a lot of countries. Sometimes there are positives to the insertion because we will spread around technologies to other countries, but oftentimes we do it at a very disproportionately like massive upturn for us over the person that we might, or the people that we might expand some technology towards, because we end up getting control over like massive amounts of wealth that could otherwise help that country substantially. But the reality is if it wasn't us, it would be somebody else. It would probably be a Middle Eastern or an Eastern country like China or Russia. And whether you want to hear this or not, China is still putting Muslims in camps and not letting the media in to re-educate them, which is something that we did to Native American people, which is something that we need to talk about more. But we are starting to talk about it more because we're at least trying to take accountability. Now, trying may not be enough, but it's more than what China is doing. These are countries, China and Russia, are very regressive when it comes to gay rights, women's rights, and even workers' rights. And these are big deals. So I know this sounds shitty, and you guys can sit here and you can be like, Papa God, your West is best, you're an asshole, you're a piece of shit. And I know, but at the end of the day, West is best. And I think that like we do need to take accountability. We need to stop doing our like predatory behavior, but we also need to make sure that we can maintain our strength as a country to fight off from other countries that would make the world objectively a worse place. There's a reason people want to come to America. It is the land of opportunity, and it is one of the freest countries in the world. And that's just a reality. And I'm sorry that like I'm defending some of the colonization. I know that we need to like dial back again. But again, we need to maintain our strength because other countries would literally fucking ruin the world. I don't want to see a Russia run fucking world or a China run world. Because again, I don't want to see Muslim people in camps. So, just being honest with you. No. What? What are you talking about? So, yeah. So, I guess ending this off, I was like getting distracted with a chat. Ending this whole entire thing off, I think it would be really interesting to have a conversation, to be educated about indigenous issues. Unfortunately, I haven't found anybody who seems fairly reputable. So, we'll see. We'll find out. Maybe this guy can come on. That'd be interesting. Because it's actually one of the things is like, I feel like I'm fairly educated on black issues. It seems like indigenous issues are things that we just don't talk about. The media doesn't talk about it. Democrats don't talk about it. Progressives don't talk about it. They don't give a shit. They don't talk about it. So maybe we need to talk about it. Fucking jumbling through my words. Hey everyone, if you liked that video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to follow my Twitch, Instagram, Twitter, Discord, and TikTok. All links are in the description. Also, check out my Patreon if you'd like to support me even more than you already do. Thank you so much, everyone. I love you all.